fellow fan geeks, it's your fangirl Tally, and today we are doing another Lies of P video reaction. This one is Lies of P Lore is Genius. Secrets, Mythology, and Anime References by Max Derrat. So, let's jump into this, shall we? Alright.
Games, and then there are Souls-like games. The Soulsborne games, obviously, are the ones made by the company that birthed the genre, From Software. Souls-like games are made by companies that clearly take inspiration from the Soulsborne formula, but differentiate it enough so that it feels original. These games include the likes of Neo, Mortal Shell, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Then there's Lies of P, which I believe really falls into its own category. It's a game that is virtually identical in every way to a Soulsborne game, except for the fact that the studio is different, with one or two minor changes to the gameplay formula. Though I enjoyed Lies of P immensely, and I think it's a wonderful love letter to From Software's games, I can see why some hardcore Souls gamers might tire of it quickly due to a lack of gameplay evolution. Yet, when it comes to Lies of P's story, I will vociferously argue that there is a lot of original, creative stuff going on. Granted, it does mirror the format of the Soulsborne series, where a lowly hero is seeking methods of self-transcendence, methods that are subtly grounded in real-life mythology, stemming from alchemy and the occult. In this case, P, a stand-in for the classic fairy tale character Pinocchio, has the opportunity to evolve from a puppet into a human. On top of that, characters around him are always seeking methods of self-transcendence through alchemical procedures. That said, the way Lies of P marries real-life mythology with the original Pinocchio fable is so brilliant and so unique that I think it comes close to the sophistication of some of From Software's games. And I don't say that carelessly. Unfortunately, many of the ways Lies of P makes use of these inspirations are so subtle that most people won't pick up on them. But thankfully, you have me to point them out. So today, I will present a variety of secrets, explanations of some of the game's mythology, and also, believe it or not, a couple of anime references. Before I do, I'm happy to say that for the first half of this video, there will be zero spoilers beyond the first hour of the game. So if you're still playing it and don't want to be spoiled, you can watch the first half and learn a few secrets. And then come back later when you're done and get even bigger secrets revealed. Now, let's not waste any more time and just jump right into things. Less than a minute after you begin the game, you can pick up Monad's Lamp, an item that not only contains a source of light to illuminate dark areas, but a cricket named Gemini, who will help guide you on your journey, providing you useful information and advice.
Cricket.
Right when I read the name of this lamp, I knew instantaneously that whoever wrote this game has an impeccably deep knowledge of mythological and narrative archetypes. Not just because of the name Monad, but also because that name was associated with a lamp that contained P's cricket. So first of all, the name Monad stems from the 6th century BC, when it was invented by a school of ancient Greek philosophers and mathematicians known as the Pythagoreans. They conceived of the monad as the origin of all life in the universe, both as the highest god and/or the seed from which the universe sprang forth. 6 centuries later, the concept of the monad was adopted by a burgeoning sect of Christianity known as Gnosticism, a sect that was considered by Orthodox Christians to be heretical. This is because they didn't strictly follow Christian doctrine, but used Christian ideas to bolster their own themes. So for example, the Gnostics believed that the Judeo-Christian God of the Old Testament was not the true God, but an ignorant demiurge blind to the world's suffering. Instead, the monad was the true God. Now get this. The man who is credited with introducing the monad concept into Gnostic Christianity was a man named Valentinus. If we observe the plaque on the statue in Krat Central Station Plaza, we learn that the statue is of a man named Valentinus. who apparently had a great impact on the city of Krat. I will explain more in the spoiler section. For now, let's turn our focus back to why the concept of the monad is relevant to Gemini the cricket. The Gnostics believed that within every conscious being lies what is known as a spinther, a divine spark or splinter that is roughly equivalent to the Greek concept of pneuma, or spirit. This divine spark is a piece of the heavenly pleroma, where the Gnostic monad resides. It is the goal of the Gnostic to reunite this inner spark with the heavenly pleroma, and they do this by engaging in a process known as gnosis. Though the literal translation of the word gnosis is knowledge, its true meaning is closer to something like insight or enlightenment. This inner spark is equivalent to the human conscience, and by following one's conscience, by engaging in moral acts, a human can become worthy of the pleroma. The idea of following one's conscience, doing what is right
Let
in
your
order
conscience
to
be
transcend
your
one's
guide.
current self,
Jiminy
is an
Cricket.
idea that rests at the heart of the Pinocchio fable.
Duh.
Let's use the version that I think most people watching this video will be familiar with, the Disney film from 1940. To transcend his puppet body, Pinocchio follows his conscience, which is personified in the form of Jiminy Cricket. By listening to his conscience, his cricket, he will become a real boy.
Yeah.
In that sense, Jiminy is much like the Gnostic spark, except instead of trying to transcend the mortal flesh, Pinocchio is trying to transcend his puppet body. These similarities carry over perfectly to Lies of P. Gemini is P's guide. He resides within a lamp, a light source akin to the Gnostic spark, the spinther. Just as our conscience will guide us out of the darkness towards the light, the lamp will guide P even if, quote, he gets lost in the fog. The theoretical endpoint of this spiritual journey, be it for a Gnostic, for Pinocchio, or P, would be the highest conceivable value, the highest good.
Oh!
Monad. Thus, calling the lamp
that is
lamp
incredibly
is
deep for a video
and
game.
Is a perfect
Holy
marriage
cow.
between
What
Gnostic
on earth?
concepts and the story of
My
Pinocchio.
head hurts.
That's the one major
What?
piece of the game's lore that I can talk about without spoiling anything. Before I move on to the spoiler-filled lore, I will detail a couple of minor references and Easter eggs. Let's stay on the topic of Gnosticism by looking at the character of Sophia. In Gnosticism, it is believed that the pleroma can be adequately understood as the mind of God, of the monad. Prior to the creation of the universe, the contents of the monad's mind emanated out into the pleroma. These mental contents became personified in the form of what the Gnostics called aeons. In Valentinus' system, there are 30 aeons, 15 male and 15 female. The most famous and most important of these aeons was known as Sophia, which in Greek translates to wisdom. Sophia rested on the border between the pleroma and the material void. At some point, Sophia decided to leave the pleroma and birth the material universe. To link this back to what we talked about before, Sophia's light splintered throughout the infinite void. That light is her wisdom, a spark that lies dormant in every human until we become conscious of it. It is through the wisdom granted by Gnosis that we might make our way back to the monad. In Lies of P, Sophia provides insight and wisdom to P, as well as the power to continue his journey. Finally, I did say that the game has a couple of anime references. The first comes in the form of a 2006 anime named Ergo Proxy. Without spoiling anything, the focus of that anime is on godlike beings known as proxies. There are two proxies in particular that I would like to give attention to. One is the titular Ergo, and the other is named Monad. Based on these two names alone, I like to think that the writer of Lies of P was a fan of Ergo Proxy, that they understood its Gnostic references and incorporated them into his own mythology, with the clearest smoking gun being the naming of Lies of P's blue currency, Ergo. Now these were all the things I could discuss without spoiling events and plot points that occur beyond the first hour. If you don't want those things spoiled for you, bookmark this video and then come back to it when you're done the game. I got a lot of other cool stuff to share with you. You have been warned. As we learn from a combination of lore documents and loading screens, the city of Krat is controlled by a group known as the Alchemists. They came to Krat 30 years prior to the beginning of the game, in order to mine a deposit of ergo that laid underneath the city. They then used that ergo to animate puppets and power their technology to create an advanced society. At the time when the alchemists arrived in Krat, their leader was the aforementioned Valentinus, whose last name was Monad. He married a member of one of Krat's most well-known families, Lady Isabel, which marked the beginning of this new era for Krat. The union of the alchemists and the old families was marked by the paradoxical union of the Ouroboros, an alchemical symbol which marks both the beginning and end of the alchemical great work, that end being the philosopher's stone and/or the gold. Sophia was Valentinus's daughter. This, of course, parallels the Gnostic myth where the Aeon Sophia was birthed by the monad. Unfortunately, when the puppet frenzy happened, it began on Rosa Isabel Street, where Valentinus had been living. The event killed him, which forced the alchemists to choose a new leader. That new leader would be Simon Manes. Before I get into his motives, I should note that Simon Manes' name is very close to the name of another famous Gnostic. His name was Simon Magus, who some Christians might recognize as Simon the Sorcerer from the Book of Acts. He was a man who tried to buy the power of God by offering money to Jesus' apostles. Both Manes and Magus share similar goals and commit similar actions.
What?
According to the anti-Gnostic works of early Christians like Justin Martyr and Irenaeus, Magus tried to convince the people of Rome that he was the one who appeared among the Jews as the Son of God, and then he further convinced them by performing sorcery. In short, both Magus and Manes wanted to be God. Now, like Magus, who tried to become God through illegitimate means, Simon Manes tried to do the same. He tried to use a combination of ergo and technology to elevate his body and mind to the point that he would become an immortal god. While it is normal for an alchemist to try to achieve eternal life by attempting to find the Philosopher's Stone so they may drink the elixir of immortality within, the way Simon went about it is not. As a scholar of alchemy who has done many videos on the subject, I can confidently say that one can only achieve the Philosopher's Stone and become immortal if they achieve the inner gold, an internal reward, one that is synonymous with the external Philosopher's Stone. The alchemical gold is hinted at in various places in the game, from the gold coin tree to the imagery of the sun on the alchemist's seals, which symbolizes the alchemical gold. Most importantly, though, there is the golden ergo. I think it is safe to surmise that ergo is something like the physical form of mind itself. Sophia says it is the distilled lifespan and memories of an individual. Test subject 826 says it enables him to read people's minds.
What?
Vanini says ergo awakens a sense of ego, of self, of mind within the puppets. As we see in the case of monstrosities like the green swamp creature who possesses a piece of golden ergo, or the golden veins that pop out of the ground near the end of the game, the transmutation of lesser ergo into golden ergo in those instances was ill-intentioned and wreaked havoc. With Manes, he did several terrible things, especially but not limited to his siphoning of ergo from Sophia to complete his alchemical projects. Doing so prevented him from achieving his true goal. It is only by following one's conscience and doing moral acts that one can safely transmute their inner ergo into gold, which will then simultaneously merit them the gift of eternal life. And to cap things off, here is something that will blow your mind. The symbol of the monad is the same symbol the alchemists used for gold. I will now conclude this video with one final anime reference. There is a strong piece of evidence hidden in the game that suggests that Simon Monis's goal of becoming God was not only inspired by Simon Magus, but the main villain of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Incoming spoiler, so make sure to stop watching if you have been meaning to watch that anime series but haven't yet. So, there are 2 documents in the game titled So Said Pistrus 2 and 3. The titular Pistrus is Simon Monis, for the document titled Simon Monis's Confession says that Pistrus is his middle name. All 3 documents outline an occult history of Krot, as well as Monis's intentions to become God. The 2 Pistrus documents appear to not be written by Monis himself, but by his disciple Adriana. In her addendum, she writes, "Praise Pistrus, the one who will swallow even God." I don't know about any of you, but the only place I've ever heard the phrase swallow God was in the anime Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. In episode 61, titled He Who Would Swallow God, the main villain known as Father literally attempts to swallow God. In that episode, God appears during an eclipse, when a door magically appears in front of the eclipsed moon, revealing the eye of God. Father then takes on a gargantuan form so he may reach up to the moon and consume God. There is more stuff regarding Lies of P that I would love to talk about, but it all comes down to you. If you want more, make sure to give this video a like, leave a comment, and share this video with fellow fans. Finally, special thanks to Indy once again for the awesome thumbnail art. Until next time, remember to stay safe and stay yellow.
Okay, guys. Wow! I'm blown away. I don't even know what to say. That was so much. Was that so much? I feel like I just took... That game was far deeper than I realized. Just geez Louise, guys. What did you think? Did you learn something new? I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you thought. Please remember to like this video. And if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to our channel. We're on our way to 1,000 members, and that's super exciting. And as always, hit that notification bell and turn those notifications on so that you know every time we update the channel. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.